Chairman's mic's not speaking. Hello, hello. Volume up. Well, good morning. Good to see everybody here this morning. We have a sign-up sheet on the front. We are going to amend the agenda. What was that bill, 402? Yeah. We added Senate Bill 402 from last week on the agenda. So if anybody wants to sign up to speak to a measure, we've got about 1 minute, and we will go ahead and get started. Good morning.
Are you having a conversation with
Yeah, but it's a little different bill than you've seen last week. I think you'll be okay. Yeah. Vance, you open in prayer for us?
I can give you one after the meeting.
Yeah, it's gonna be in a minute. Okay. All right, it is just turned 8 o'clock. Chairman Smith, will you open in prayer for us?
Be glad to, Mr. Chairman. Lord, we thank you for another beautiful day you've given us. We're approaching that time of the year, Easter. Help us understand your Son gave his life for our sins, and we're so thankful. Lead, guide, and direct us. Grant us wisdom, Lord. Protect our families, our children, and our grandchildren while we're away. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. We do have a couple bills on the agenda. First, I'd like to go to Senate Bill 547, if I could. I know we got one member's got to step out, but if Senator Harbin will come to the podium and or the table, not the podium. I'm sorry. Table will be better, I believe. That's if you tell us your LC number we're working off of.
LC 481290S.
Hold on, what was that number again?
LC 481290S is what I have.
That's not the.
That's not the one you got.
We got 4386S.
4386. Can you give me a copy? I can work from it. It's pretty easy.
This copy we have.
Thank you, sir.
And I think that's the latest.
Latest, greatest. Okay.
So.
Are we ready, sir?
I think we're ready.
Ready. Okay. I had started this looking at the seatbelt issue. As the issue is, it was all in the front. In the rear, we have children that are required, but not the passengers in the rear. Part of that came from some of the things we're seeing with Uber and Lyft. We're seeing that I got in a car with an Uber driver, and he said, "Would you please put your seatbelt on?" And I said, "Okay." And I thought that kind of unusual. But then I started looking at this and found out that 60% of the fatalities that take place in an automobile are from people in the rear seats. And what I wanted to do, we have a video that I want to show you. This is at 25 miles per hour. National Safety Institute is 25 miles an hour. And what you're going to find is that I want you to look specifically. There's two occupants in the back. The two front drivers have their seatbelt on, but the two rear, one does and one doesn't. And if you look at the one here, no seatbelt, he is a missile going into the back of the driver in the front who is actually strapped in. This shows you the one that is strapped in, and he does not go forward as the other one does on the other side. And I realize this is that, I'll be honest, when I get in my car now, I make sure that the people in my back seat put their seatbelts on, because I don't want them to be a missile coming in the back of my head. And of course, it was interesting. I couldn't understand why the rear seats were not required when the front seat, and of course, this has been an issue going back and forth. So simply what this bill does is it requires that the seatbelt in the rear is required just like the front seat, and no change as far as the children. We did, when we ran this through, we did raise the fees that are charged from that standpoint, from 15
To
to 25, and to 25 to 50 on the other. So it's a real simple bill. You would think simple, but it is. But I believe it will change lives. It's one thing we can do that really does change lives. If we would require that and people would follow that, there's a real change in what happens with people in automobile accidents.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the author? Ooh, number 5, I think, was first. Chairman Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, sir. How are
Listen,
you
thank
doing?
you for the bill, and the safety is a big deal, and this definitely hits on it. However, how is this going to? Who do you plan? I mean, who's going to enforce this? Are we going to require law enforcement to now look in the back, or when will we know that someone didn't have the backseat on when we have to watch a video of them? Again, I just want to make sure that I agree with I agree with it in concept. However, someone has to enforce it and to make sure that.
That's the last page.
And that's how do we do? Plan?
Understand the enforcement issue, and here's a part, even tinted windows, it becomes very hard to enforce. I think what it is, though, is like, bear with me, coming here this morning, I was in traffic, and there was someone texting on their phone while they were riding down. I think it's a statement more than anything else for us to make as a body of law and saying, you know what, this is what you need to do. It's interesting that the newer vehicles, I have a new truck, it tells me whether the person in the back has their seatbelt on or not. So there is the recognition that this saves lives, and I think you're going to see more and more of that. And I think what we're doing is this: if we just change 5 people that finally put their seatbelt on in the back, or when you get into your car the next time and someone's behind you, you're going to say, put your seatbelt on, or we're not leaving. I just see that as saving lives. I'm not interested in so much the charge against a person. I believe it's just good common sense. If NASCAR drivers wear them, there's a reason for that. And if you're on 285, that's almost as good as NASCAR.
One follow-up.
Yes.
And thank you, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. The last one is, what about pets?
Every dog
Because
for
I know
himself.
they can, they're projectiles as well.
They are, and that's
coming
one.
through.
That's, I don't know, I hadn't thought about pets from that standpoint, but it's like anything else that's back there. I find it in a station wagon, especially when you're loading your luggage, you better be ready, because if you slam on brakes, what if it's not tied down, it's gonna come forward. And I think that's what this video shows more than anything, is people, I hate to say, seeing is believing, and that's really what I see. This is a part of it.
All right. Number 17, Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I elevated you.
Good morning.
You got a promotion.
Elevated you.
I've been
Thank you,
promoted. I've
Mr.
been
Chairman.
promoted.
I understand about the concept of the safety. Why the increase with the fees?
Well, the fees had not been changed since the seatbelt laws had been put in place. And when I went through committee with the bill, that was what they wanted to increase. In fact, that's a compromise in between from that standpoint. It's just simply try to acknowledge that inflation is there on that portion. And what we were talking about, I don't know that this is going to be a major violation that somebody's going to say, here's you weren't wearing your rear seat. I think it's making the public aware of the issue, especially even the front driver. He needs to be aware that he has the life you save may be your own. And so that's really what they did in committee.
Thank you.
Okey dokey.
Number 23,
Thank
Chairman
you.
Ridley.
Thank you for this bill. It's weird because you got stuff going on, you got friends in different committees, you don't really know what all is going on at the same time. But I had a judge contact me a couple of weeks ago about issues with seatbelts in the courtroom, where you cannot, if somebody's in a wreck and it's a fatality or something, you cannot say if they had their seatbelt on or didn't have their seatbelt on. So I come and started kind of talking to some of our buddies about it, and there's actually a court ruling that's questioning the constitutionality of that, not being able to permit that in court. So at the proper time, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to make a friendly amendment on your bill that I think it kind of have to do with everything with this.
Okay. I would be open to that.
All right.
Would now be the time to,
Okay.
to pass out the amendment, if you have it, and if you got, I think someone would like to speak to that amendment.
Come right.
Thank you.
Do you need a copy? Yeah.
You ain't got an amendment? That's the amendment.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
All right. Would you like to speak to the amendment, Chairman Purple?
Would that be okay, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely.
So I was talking to Representative Ridley this morning about this amendment, and it coincidentally it mirrors a bill that I had worked on. So the amendment is number one, insert new section 2 and renumber the remaining sections. And so this would be the new section 2, amending 40-8-76. The underlying bill is 40-8-76.1. So it is certainly germane to this. And in our conversation, all of the two, and so there will be 2 adds, and it's the same verbiage in each section in 76 and 76.1 that says violations of code sections may be considered in any civil action as evidence admissible for the failure to mitigate damages, assumption of risk, etc. As you can read, and I don't have to read that for you. As the chairman indicated, over 90% of drivers wear their seatbelts, and about 50% of the fatalities are with those that are not wearing a seatbelt. So 50% of the fatalities, and as the senator has brought the safety issue of wearing a seatbelt, we know that half of the fatalities in a car wreck come from that 10% that are not wearing a seatbelt. And it is a matter of fairness. So a jury can be informed if someone is speeding. They can be informed in a civil action if a motorcycle rider is wearing a helmet or not. They can be informed as to whether or not the person was under the influence. But for some strange reason, the jury cannot be informed that whether the people were wearing a seatbelt or not. It's unusual that they can actually get a citation for not wearing a seatbelt in a traffic accident, yet if it comes to trial, the defendant is not allowed, the defendant is not allowed to produce evidence that they were cited for not wearing a seatbelt, and perhaps injuries were a result of this. So it's simple language. There was a Supreme Court a ruling in 2022 where Justice Sarah Hawkins Warren of the Georgia Supreme Court said, "Some of us have serious concerns about the constitutionality of a statute that strips from the defendant the ability to present evidence that could be critical to its ability to present a defense of a product or it designs and manufactures." This seatbelt gag rule was instituted in '88 before seatbelts were widely used. And now there's over 90% compliance. The jury would matter-of-factly assume, hey, I wear a seatbelt, they must have been wearing a seatbelt. They are not allowed to give evidence that the person was wearing a seatbelt or not. So this is simple language that Supreme Court Justice says we need, and I thank the Senator for not opposing a friendly amendment by Representative Ridley.
Do we have any questions for the author of the original bill or the amendment? Not seeing any. What would be the pleasure of the committee? I've got a do pass on the original bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Now we need a motion on the amendment, the bill as a,
I'll make a motion to pass.
got a motion on the amendment. Do we have a second? Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of this amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, now we're gonna vote on the bill as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Senator, you have your bill as amended, and just hold that there.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Enjoy being here.
All right, we will now go back to SB 110, Chairman Jones. And if, and Ledge Council said it's probably going to do some cleanup language on the amendment we just made, but just so everybody be aware of that, so, in the title. Chairman Jones, the floor is yours.
I'm not sure if I should refer to you as Mr. Speaker or Mr. Chairman, but thank you, sir. I appreciate that, and to the rest of the committee. Members of the committee, I bring to you the substitute to SB 110. I want to first and foremost thank Senator Albers for allowing me to basically put what was a House bill that this committee voted out unanimously about a month and a half ago around what is effectively bikes being able to treat a stop sign as a yield sign. The only change that we made was we made it where if the bike and the car, the vehicle, approach the two-way stop at a two-lane road simultaneously or near simultaneously, effectively, they do not have the right, meaning the cyclist does not have the right to treat it as a yield sign. So that exception language can be found, if you go to the bill, can be found on lines 22 and 23. You'll effectively see turn or proceed through an intersection without stopping when no other vehicle is stopped at the stop sign or approaching the intersection or junction so closely as to constitute a hazard for the operator of the bicycle to turn or to proceed. Mr. Chairman, that is the change from what this committee sent out unanimously about 6 weeks ago, sir.
And can you speak to other states that have done this? What kind of results have they shown with that?
Sure. 10 other states have done this. And, well, let me take a step back, and I apologize. I probably assumed that everyone in the room today was in the room about 6 weeks ago. First and foremost, when you look at the state of Georgia in terms of fatalities, when it involves cyclists, 21% of the fatalities for cyclists occur at stop signs. Another 22% occur at stop lights, but we're not addressing that right now. So this is one of the top three, I'll say, indicators for causing fatalities or serious injuries to cyclists here in the state. As you all know, and you've seen around the Capitol, the bike lanes, but you've also seen throughout the city of Atlanta, also with the greenways, the beltways, et cetera. We're seeing more and more people not just use cycling for the purposes of recreation, but also for the purposes of actual work transportation. So we need to be cognizant of how it is that we can make it safe for both the drivers of vehicles, but also for the cyclists themselves. In terms of other states, 10 other states have passed language either exact or similar to what you have in front of you, and depending on which state, each one of them have seen a double-digit decrease in fatalities within the first 12 to 18 months of the implementation of this law.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the author? If not, what would be the will of the committee? We got a motion to pass. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. On the rules again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
All right, and we did have one other bill. We added SB 402, and we have a substitute, I believe.
Yes,
that if you want to hand out. Ridley was busy last night. What am I not? All right, I think everybody has been. I'm gonna give everybody a couple minutes to look through that while the, number 23, if you wanna explain.
Yeah, let
the-
me explain. So if y'all remember, this is the original language in House Bill 301 that we passed out of the House unanimously about the school cameras. And all it was doing was, adding a 35% rule. It was codifying like the part about the $25 fee. And it was adding it to the 35% rule, is all it was doing. It passed out, it got, my bill, we stripped it out and put something else in it. So this is the language, from House Bill, the original language from House Bill 301. And so we wanted to replace the language in Senate Bill 402 with this.
And this is not the bill that done away with the schools on campus.
No.
You're just capping the percentage they can collect on fines.
It does that, and then and if you remember, there was, I think everybody here had constituents calling about the issues. So in the law, it says that you can charge no more than $25, but what we had people that was getting bills that had, fees that were actually more than the actual ticket were. So what this does is also says, that, any law enforcement agency or governing body that violates the provision of this article, on the automated traffic camera enforcement safety device shall assess a fine of $1,000 by the Commissioner of Public Safety. That was some language, I don't think I have anybody from ACCG and GMA. They finally, y'all finally end up agreeing to that after Senator Albers wanted to do something a whole lot worse.
ACCG's behind you, I think that's what
Yeah,
he was pointing at. Yeah, we're gonna come to the podium.
To be honest with you, we've had so many of these bills, I cannot keep track. My colleague Gabe Carter has tracked the speed zone camera bill, so I can't speak as to whether our position is right now. I can look and be right back with you.
Well,
If
this is the
thing.
original
So
one.
it was certainly wasn't as concerning as the one that banned them outright.
Yeah, this right here don't ban them, it
Conversation.
just puts the perimeters on there, and if you do violate it, it just put a flat fine in there.
Let me grab my phone. real
Okay.
I know I'm getting texted now. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on our position at this point, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, and this, again, this was your original House Bill 301.
That's
So
right.
that's the language that we're gonna be using for.
Yeah, well, it's LC 393789S was original, is the one, it's the second version.
And that's what this language.
That's what this language
is.
is.
So it's just the language from 301 and like I say, we passed it out of here.
We passed out of here, it passed out of the House
Passed off the
unanimously.
floor. So, any questions for the, author? Seeing no questions, what would be the will of the committee? We have a motion to pass. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. We do have one other issue this morning. It's not an issue, I got a couple members in the audience that would like to speak to an issue that Brad Thomas has a couple bills that he's introduced, and he's not gonna be here this morning, but I asked them to come to the table and talk about it. It's something we're gonna be looking at next year, but I just want to make the committee aware of it. So if you wanna speak to your issue and what Brad's trying to do. Just state your name and who you're with.
My name is Wayne. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Wayne Nunez. I represent several different organizations, one being the Gina McLeod Memorial Foundation, which is a motorcycle rights organization, as well as the Georgia Motorcycle Safety Alliance, which promotes motorcyclist safety. And what I wanted to talk to you today about, two bills. One of them is House Bill 1369, which is called the Motorcycle Mobility Act. This is a bill that was introduced in 2016, And it passed this House and it passed the Senate unanimously, but was vetoed. The original bill was House Bill 166, I believe it was. Yeah, House Bill 166. Why it got vetoed, I still have not been able to find out the true answer to that. But what it involves is it allows motorcyclists the right, after waiting a suitable amount of time and making sure that the traffic is cleared, they're able to turn left at a non-functioning left turn light. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been on a motorcycle or been at a red light that doesn't work. It's frustrating. You either take the risk of going across, making the turn and getting a citation, or you leave that turn lane and you go somewhere else to try and make a turn. The problem is there's 3 different types of mechanisms that are used in Georgia to trigger those lights. It's a magnetic sensor that's in the ground, which is the most common. The second one is a laser or light beam, and the third is a camera. While the camera and the laser are function a little better than the magnetic one for motorcycles in inclement weather, rain or fog or anything like that, those don't work either. All we're asking for is the ability to make a left-hand turn when it is safe after waiting a suitable amount of time to make that left-hand turn without fear of getting cited or getting a citation for making that turn. To us, it's a safety issue because when we're sitting still in a turn lane or in traffic, we're more subject on a motorcycle to get hit from the rear than anything else. For some reason, automobiles cannot see us when we're in front of them. Why, I don't know. I've been involved in a rear-end collision, and it's an experience. But all we're asking is your consideration on that matter. And I'll take questions on that if y'all would like to.
Okay, and you said it was vetoed in 2016, but you don't know the veto statement, what they stated, the reason
No,
why?
sir. No, sir, I do
And
not.
that's something we can go back and.
Yeah, it was
I can
originally
get with
part of
Brad, and
it.
we can look at that, see the.
Yeah, it was
veto-
originally
veto-
part of
veto
SB,
statement.
House Bill 166 is where the original text came from. And this is a duplicate version of that bill.
Okay. Number 19, Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess I want to say I do appreciate something like this. I mean, a bill like it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my only concern is what you call a amount of time. You know, I mean, the reason I say that is because when I want to make a left-hand turn over where I live, that light is every 3 or 4 minutes. You know what I mean? And there's no cars coming, but I decide I don't want to make that left-hand turn until the light does, you know, the arrow is given to me. So I'm just, when you said you left it kind of vague, like a amount of time, you're talking like 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Or do you set through a cycle, let the red light cycle
Exactly.
time on through it, it doesn't ever
In the
give you a
bill,
turn?
In the bill, it states waiting a full cycle of the light, which is the other light. So you're running a full circle of the lights changing before you can make sure that no traffic is coming. And the bill states that that no traffic is within a certain distance of you to make that safe turn.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on that issue? Number 5, Chairman Prince.
Thank you, Chairman. I understand that the waiting piece, and I understand exactly what you're trying to do, but once you decide to make that left turn and there's an accident there, okay?
You're not.
Who is not?
It's still your responsibility to make sure that you're clear to turn. If you make the turn on that light and and it causes an accident, then you can be held at fault.
Does it say that in the bill
Yes,
also?
it does.
Okay.
All right, seeing no other questions, Steve, can you speak to the other measure as well?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also here to speak on House Bill 1430, which is a motorcycle profiling bill. I am speaking to several people regarding this. most people feel that motorcycle profiling is not an issue. And when we say when we call motorcycle profiling, where an officer has the right to stop a motorcycle just because of what clothes they're wearing, vest with a patch on the back, or just the simple fact that they're riding a motorcycle. This bill does address most of those issues. As far as motorcycle profiling being a true and real issue, the 117th Congress of the United States issued a resolution, it's House Resolution 366, which identifies motorcycle profiling as an issue in the United States. And I don't think Georgia is exempt from those issues as well. The resolution that was issued by the Congress was also included things in it that were education for police, not motorcycle only traffic stops, things of that nature. And I'd like to, that is not in this bill. This is a very general bill that only addresses the fact that motorcycle profiling does exist and does limit the scope of what police officers can stop a motorcyclist for. But I'd really, I would like to see some changes to this bill, and I think next year we're going to work on getting some changes in this bill to include more of what House Resolution 366 has in it, or what U.S. Congress has offered. There are currently right now 6 states that have issued motorcycle profiling bills that have passed: Louisiana, Idaho, or just to name a couple of them, that have all of the issues in it that the House Resolution 366 does cover. So I really appreciate y'all looking at this hard, and next year we're going to be talking seriously about it.
Do we have any questions on that? Not seeing any. Ms. Newitz, thank you for coming this morning, and I know Brad's going to be working hard on that issue coming up next session, so thank you for coming, and if nothing else, the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.